Okay, all, welcome to my possibly last review of the Engine Micro Zords from Power Rangers RPM. What we're going to be showing today is the Engine Shogun Megazord. So we've got 3 Zords here, and we've also got a bonus Zord, but I will be covering that later after we're done the main parts of the toy. Okay, so you have 3 Micro Zords here, all of which are unnamed, by the way. The packaging doesn't state what Micro Zords come with, but you can see that they're all reversions of the previous Zords. The Lion Hauler, the Eagle Zord, and the Bear Crawler. So they're all reversions. Now let's talk about each one by one before we move on to the actual Megazord. So here we have the Eagle Racer Shogun Micro Megazord. At first look, it looks like a repaint of the Eagle Racer. Everywhere you look, it looks pretty much the same, except for one glaring detail. These gold wings on the side are very different. And of course, this horn thing you've got in front. Now, the thing about the Eagle Racer, and actually all of the Zords in the Engine Micro Zord series, the Shogun ones at least, they all have retools. They're not straight repaints of the original Zords. As you can see, the original had a flat nose. This one has a ridged nose, a ridged beak actually. And you've got this horn thing that you can remove, which we'll be talking about later some more. Okay, so everything here's the same. I have a feeling that they didn't actually retool the sides. You can see there that there's a new gold tooling here, but I have a feeling that's just glued on, because when I looked at the bottom parts, it didn't seem like they actually retooled the main part of the car where the door would be, just so they could accommodate the wings. It looks like it's been glued on there. The actual retool would be here, the front area, where they had to have the ridges for the nose as well as the slot to attach this thing onto. Okay, now we're gonna go to the second Zord, the Lion Hauler. The Lion Hauler looks a lot like the original, except for a couple of differences. Like the Eagle Sword, Eagle Racer, it's also got some retooling, mostly positioning of pegs and stuff like that. So you've got swords for both, right? But you'll notice that the slots are on different areas. You see the slot here on the upper left side of the bus for the original version. The reversioned one has the slots nearer to the tires, and there are 2 of them, so you could put this katana thing. And another thing I wanted to add is that the toy, the original toy, and I believe the movie, if I'm not mistaken, has the katana installed onto the side pretty much at all times, given that the original character is sort of a swordsman. Now you've got another thing here that's new. You've got a mustachy area up front. You can see that there would be no slots for that on the original, but you've got 2 new peg holes here where you can specifically put the gold mustache. It doesn't really go anywhere, so it's just there. Doesn't serve any purpose. If you choose to super glue that on so that it won't ever come off, trust me, you won't have a problem. Because I don't know if it's worth mentioning, but the Paleozord, which has the mustache piece that attaches to this in G12 combination, well, it's not in the Microzord, so you won't need it. Anyway, let's go. Those are the differences. Everything's the same. The pegs are in the same position. You've got one up top, you've got one on either side, and you've got these sliding holes, which you can use to snap onto the Paleozord for the big combinations. Okay, so that's the lion hauler. Okay, now let's proceed to our next Zord, the bear crawler. Well, not that one, but this new black reversioned one. This new black reversioned bear crawler, actually at first glance I thought it was exactly the same. I didn't see any differences in the mold or anywhere else in the toy. It's still the two-part bear Microzord that we used to have, but I just noticed recently that you've got no holes on the V-shield for the original, but you've got two holes for the new version. Right there. Quite visible. And we'll learn the purpose for that later. Okay, so those are your bear crawler Zords. This would be your reversion bear crawler Zord. Now onto the transformation. To transform the engine Shogun Megazord, you're going to need all three parts. First, you're going to work on the lion hauler. Separate that. And take off a top portion and snap it like so. Like I previously mentioned on other videos, the thing with Microzords is that pretty much everything relies on pegs and peg holes instead of hinges. So all you had to do was separate the midsection so you have your legs. Move this over here. Like the lion hauler, it's still two parts. Separate this, insert it on the hole, preferably with the square peg sticking out like that. Like so. Snap it onto the lion hauler. There you go. And then the last piece is the engine Shogun Eagle Zord, which, like the original, is three pieces. You just snap them off of each other, and then you just put it up top like so. There you go. Now what I like most about the engine Shogun Megazord is that it's got a very solid design. Okay, I made a mistake. I forgot to remove the sword. See what happens? It gets warped if you do that. So it's better to remove the sword, before you do any transformations. The last piece of transformation is to remove this horn from the Eagle Zord and snap it onto his helmet. And there you have it. And you have his sword. The sword fits quite snugly on either hand, just like the previous High Octane Megazord's sword. And then you can, where to keep the sword though, if you're just displaying him, you can remove the sword, put it here. That's the closest you're gonna get to the intended Shogun design. But you remember that I mentioned the two little holes on the bear crawler's underside? You can actually put the sword there as well. Although I personally prefer putting it over on the side. There you go. Okay. Now the thing with all Micro Zords, Micro Megazords, is that they're sold with one extra piece, which is being marketed as a bonus Zord. Actually, if you ask me, Engine Shogun Megazord has the best looking bonus Zord from Wave 2, because it actually looks like a solid craft with an animal theme. So there. This thing though simply splits in half. You can snap them onto the hands because they've got little handles similar to the ones found in the sword. Snap them on there and you've got yourself weird hand thingies. You can use it to spin around or something, but I don't see any actual purpose in them. While this is the best looking bonus Zord, it's not the most pleasing when you add them to your Megazord aesthetically. Now seeing these two together is pretty fun because they're basically identicals of each other, but you'll see a lot of differences. For example, High Octane is actually better painted. He's not missing as many paint apps when he's all together like that than Engine Shogun. For example, Engine Shogun's forearms are supposed to be black, but they're not. His eyes, the eagle eyes are supposed to be eye-lined red. He's missing a Japanese symbol. It's much more noticeable, but the thing is, he's more cohesive design-wise in comparison. So I actually really like this one. There's a lot of differences, enough differences so that you just don't think that he's a black repaint, like many Transformers fans either love or hate. This one makes a lot of sense. But there you go, that's Engine Daishogun, or Engine Shogun Megazord.
The RPM Micro Megazords may look tiny, but they pack a big alien-busting punch. You can morph them again, and again, and again, into enough power to totally destroy evil. Alien-busting RPM Micro Megazord sets, only from Bandai.